And one major thing we're able to highlight or emphasize was that discipline is beyond the action of rebuke, the action of chastisement, the action of punishment, the action of spanking, the action of flogging, and what have you. Discipline is basically the art, in fact, ART and the ACT, the act of imparting a set of values to a child. It is the art of teaching them, it's the art of training them. So these are the things we looked at last week, and our speaker, Mr. Osas, he helped us see the different components and the different ways in which discipline can be administered. So that's like a, shall I say, brief, very, very brief anyway. That's like a brief overview of what was discussed last week. I mean, I keep saying last week. What was discussed last month. So this evening, this night, we'll be continuing right from there. And we'll be looking, it's a conversation that has, stumped a lot of people. I mean, you will see it on the social media, the idea of, you don't need to spank a child, just speak to them, and another person will come with their opinion. They will laugh at you, like, okay, it's like you just started parenting, right? And they will tell you there's no other way. The Bible that says, spare the rod and spoil the child. The Bible knows what he's saying. So, and that's like at the most visible level, like that's the most visible level. But even beyond that, when you don't, beyond spanking, beyond using actual rod on a child, when can we say discipline is too much? Now, usually what we'll be referring to is the act, how we administer it. It might even be with your words. There are ways you can tilt to the extreme, whether you are being too harsh or you are being too permissive, whether you are being too liberal, like anything goes under your care, anything, the children are their liberty to do and undo, or you are being too restrictive. So these are some of the things we want to look at tonight. Remember, the idea of discipline is basically to teach, to impart values, to tell a child that, oh, this is what is right for you, this is what is good, even as they themselves as individuals go to, shall I say, explore the world for themselves. So those are some of the things we'll be looking at tonight, picking up from where we stopped last month. So I'll be yielding the mic to our speaker, that is Mrs. Esther John. Hello, good evening, Mrs. Esther.
Hi, good evening. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Olayemi. Thank you for this opportunity. For everyone that is on this call, I wanted to celebrate yourself. You can give yourself a thumbs up, a love smiley, and anything you want to give yourself, please go ahead. Thank you for joining, and thank you for all right, thank you for that as well. Okay, so Mr. Yemi has actually given a bit of recap from last week, and I'm sure some of us were here. And this topic on discipline has been, I think, for like 2 months. Sorry, not last week, 2 months now, and all of that. And last month was actually beautiful because it was really engaging. And because of the fact that a lot of things were brought to light, we could actually relate to practically all of the disciplines that in this part of this world, or in this part of Nigeria, actually, what discipline is, most times discipline has to do with when someone has done something wrong, right? That's the mindset of discipline, right? If a child has not done anything wrong, they don't seem to see that discipline is, just like they explained, is an act and an art. That was the speaker for last week. Is that he explained the heart and he explained the act and the heart. And that speaks to the fact that you don't have to, it's not until something goes wrong before discipline is enforced. But what we are used to is a child does something and we see either is a bara or backhand or whatever, that seems to be how some of us or most of us were raised. And some parents still do that, till now and all that. So it's more seen, it's not really seen as a part of imputing character or training a child to understand values, to understand specific values of how they are expected to live, right? Or you as the parents living those values and understanding that the way you live is the way the child is able to understand what true character is or what value is. So one mindset that we've had in Nigeria or in this part of our Africa is the fact that we see discipline as when something is wrong, when someone has done something wrong. We don't see it from the place of training, from the place of a child learning character, a child learning values, like I said, and all of that. So we are just going to, continue, like you said, practical ways to achieve balance in lifestyle of discipline, right? The discipline dilemma, whether you're too harsh, whether it's too permissive, right? And all that. So the one thing that, that is worthy of note is that a lifestyle of discipline. I don't want to call it lifestyle. I want to call it culture, right? Because culture speaks to a system. It speaks to a system of how things are run or how things are done, right? It speaks to how a person lives. It speaks to a daily living. It speaks to who a person is. It speaks of who a person is. What the characteristics that makes up a person, the culture of a person. So if you say the culture of discipline, right, it is embedded in a thing. It is embedded in a system, right, and all of that. So it's not the normal child misbehave, I react, I slap the child, I explode on the child, I shout on the child, and all of that. It's not, that's a way of, that's another culture, right? So let me give two scenarios. Someone who is used to, or maybe grew up in an environment where once you do wrong, you get beaten for it, or once you do wrong, you get punished for it. You are asked to maybe stool down. I don't know if some of us see that. You're asked to stool down, or maybe it's belts and all that. And that's the culture that the parent, right, has instilled as discipline to that child, right? And there is another culture of connection, right? Relationship. This parent has relationship, has connection with this child, has relationship with this child. And so when they speak to the child, it's from the place of relationship. It's from the place of connection, right? It's not, even when correction is coming, it's from the place of connection. It's from the place of love, right? Why? Because there is a relationship with the child. The parent has a relationship. So speaking and correcting that child, right, is not coming from the place of you exploding on the child. It's coming from the place of I am in connection with this person. It's just like when you have a very close friend or somebody that you can't do without talking with the person or gisting with the person and all of that, right? You have a connection with the person. And because you have a connection with the person, both of you understand boundaries, right? There's a blending of firm boundaries, right? Because yes, this person is your friend, but there are things both of you have come to study about yourselves, right? Because you are in a relationship, right? Because you know this person, you understand this person. You did not just, it's not a very feral thing, but it is something that you did dirty. You wanted to know that, you wanted to really love this person, and so you had to, spend time with the person, speak to the person, know what the person like, get to understand how the person's emotion is, get to understand how the person reacts, in situations. You get to see it, right? I'm using friendship as an example because we can all relate, right? But I'm driving it somewhere. So because of that, over time, you've both, you may have had times where both of you didn't, there were misunderstandings between yourselves, and there was a better way you were able to do it. Now, these are two matured friends. This is not a child. These are two matured friends. And so by that, you also understand boundaries as friends. Oh, I can't say this to you. I can't think of you this way. If you look at me, don't ever think that I will think of you this way. Right now, this is friendship. But when it comes to children, we sometimes in this part of the world not see it like that. We see them as below. We see them as, oh, Chepit is a child. It's just a child. I mean, what do they know? Meanwhile, what they know is what they are learning in their environment. What they know, what they come to understand is what they learn, what they see you do, what they see their guardian or their parents or whoever, is a steward of them, right? That's what they learn. So the one of the best ways, right? One of the beauty about discipline is that it's about connection, right? It's about relationship. It's about getting to know the child. It's about getting to play with the child. It's about the child seeing every side of you, right? As a parent, seeing the playful side of you, seeing the part of you that loves, that shows love, not just love at home, but towards others, right? That shows value, the value of understanding people, respecting people, the way you talk to other people, the way you relate with other people. And so the child is in that environment, learning kindness, learning love, learning patience, right? By the way you act, by the way you live. And so if you have built relationship with that child, discipline for you is not until the child does something wrong, right? It's not even that, you don't even have that mindset. It's not until the child does something wrong, but it is rather something bigger for you. It is rather how the child, the culture that will inform how the child lives. It becomes a system, right, in the child, and the child is able to run and live by every day. I'm sure we're able to get it, right? So that's what makes discipline, different. Yes, we look at it from the place of beating a child, and I'm going to, speak on that. But I want us to see discipline as different, right? It's not only from the place of when something is wrong, right? But how how you live, right? It is how you communicate. It is how connection is. It is a culture, right? It is a system that runs daily, right? Whether or not anyone has offended, whether or not the child is wrong, whether or not anything is wrong, it is a system that just runs daily, and every parent is a steward. And as a steward, this is the first mindset you must have, that I don't see discipline on I don't see discipline as, oh, when my child does something, I discipline the child. No. Discipline is a different, there's a different approach, to discipline, right? So for you to achieve that culture of discipline, you have to blend firm boundaries with deep unconditional love. You have to be able to blend it. I don't know if you've seen scenarios where maybe the father may have a soft spot for the children, and so it may seem to, maybe when mommy is correcting the child, it may seem to want to interrupt. That's another form of culture or discipline that you are instilling in the child, that somebody can correct somebody, I can run to this other person and I will be saved. You're already putting something in that child to tell the child, teaching the child that, oh, emotional blackmail is part of the culture of this home. That's what you are teaching. That's why every couple, every parent must agree on how if one person is correcting the child in terms of using words. Now, with the use of words, how we use our words are very important, right? If you as a parent will tell your child that you are full of love, that you are this, you are that, then this same when the same child, gets on your nerves, children have energy. I don't know. I'm sure most of us that have been around children, they have energy. And the energy sometimes is not all the time that you want that kind of energy. And you may have said, sit down there. Don't stand up. Don't do this one. In short, it's when you say sit down there, that's when they will stand up. Or it's when you say, that's when they want to quickly go and pick something. See, my toy shoe, we fell in that place, and that's when they want to run to go and pick that thing. And so you say things you are not supposed to say to them. Now you are giving them two different, they are seeing two different sides, of what value is, or what character is. They are seeing, oh, whenever you are angry or upset, you are permitted to speak like this, and it is allowed. And they are also seeing the part of, oh, you can also speak good things into your life. Both of them they cannot work in the same environment. So it's impossible for you to be speaking these things, telling them who they are, speaking identity to them, helping them understand their identity, right? And then when something goes wrong, it is something different. So too harsh or too permissive. Permit me to use a story, right? You remember when Saul was, ready to execute Jonathan over a very rash oath, so that he could save his face before the people, right? For Saul, it was more of ego, right? It was more of his reputation. However, for Jonathan, he was looking at it that this thing is different, right? This thing my dad is doing, it's wrong. And yes, he grew up in the environment of Saul. Saul was not that kind of father, right? But he was more of, I want to save my face before the people, than the very things that he's supposed to do that were right. The very things that God had told him to do. The very oath that God has told him, or the very instructions that God had given him. Right? And so ego came into the way. And most times, for most of us parents, right, when we become harsh, we don't apologize to the child. Like now, I gave the example of speaking to the child and saying something. Maybe the child does something wrong and saying what you're not supposed to say. And that you're not supposed to have said that. The first thing you're supposed to have done is to apologize to that child. Right? And when you apologize to the child, you are teaching the child something. You are showing the child that this thing that I just did is not permissive. Right? It's not allowed. It's not supposed to be done. And so I am sorry, this is what is supposed to be done. What you did was wrong. You are not supposed to, what's the word? What you did was wrong. You are not supposed to, this is what you should have done right. Right? So you correct the child, or you apologize to the child first. The child learns that. However, in situations where the child is still little, let's say a child of less than 1, right? And the child does something very wrong. The child is a baby. The child is learning. You don't say that the child is a baby. No. Immediately, you do something that corrects, that makes the child know that, I just did, mommy has never done this thing to me before, right? Yes, the child is a baby. May not. You may think the child doesn't hear or doesn't understand, but no. The child is not just a baby. The child has the ability to observe, to see, right? And the child can even see when the mommy that was cuddling, right, suddenly gives a spank and say, no, don't do that. Don't beat people. Don't beat anyone. And it's just a spank, right? But that spank was to instill something. You didn't just spank the child and leave the child and go away. No. Remember I said that connection first, relationship first, right? That's where discipline starts from. Connection with the child that comes from the place of unconditional love. Now, if you don't understand the love of God, it's impossible for you to pass that same love to a child. If you don't understand loving one another, it's impossible for you to show that same love to a child. Right? If you don't understand being patient with someone, it's impossible for you to be patient, because they would actually do things that will make you feel like I should just carry you and just I don't know. Sometimes they carry you and just fling you out. That may be what will be in your thoughts, right? And that happens to every parent. That happens to every parent. But it takes self-control. Self-control from your own relationship with the Lord. It takes understanding the love of God. The love of God as patient. The love of God as kind. The love of God as gentle. Right? If you have, let's say, 2 boys in your house, that's the best time to test the love of God has patience inside you. Because you realize that patience that you think you have, you not see it, especially when one has climbed the top of the window and another is already throwing ball on the TV. But you know that they don't have to be like that. They don't have to grow up like that. It all depends on the discipline, the culture in the home. It all depends on the environment that you are creating in the home. Right? So let's say, for instance, you go to a supermarket and you're buying something, and then the child is running up and down, running up and down. You see some parents running after the child, running after the child, running after the child. Now, I said something. If you are building relationship and connection, you will have known the child. So before you enter the supermarket, it is something you will have had the discussion with the child. We are going to a supermarket, right? And I want you by my side. I want us to let's pick together what we want to buy. And so the child may ask you, Mommy, what do you want to buy? That's if you have maybe a bit of a little child, maybe a 4-year-old child like mine, or a 3-year-old child, that you're making them understand little things. So let's pick these things together. What we want to buy in the supermarket, let's pick it together. And so the child already understand the information before you got there. But most times we say, what do they know? You drive to the supermarket and you just start picking, forgetting that you are in a relationship with this child. I can't go to a supermarket with a friend. We both will pick things. Oh, you want to look at that? I like this one, and I've read this book. Or you go to let's say you like reading book, like Mrs. Beckano. You go to a bookstore, and so you are looking, have you read this with this storyline? Oh, this, all that, and all that. Yes, it may not be on the same pedestal with that child, right? But before you guys were going to the bookstore, you were talking about the kind of books you may want to check out. Do you understand? Why? Because there is a connection, there is a relationship. And so it is easy to administer discipline. And so I want to go back to the part of me talking about, why I'm using examples is we're talking about practical ways of discipline. Like practical. So I was using the example of starting early. It is wrong for us to say, oh, the child is the child is still small, right? And so you don't start early in terms of letting the child understand discipline, in terms of instilling values and character into that child, right? It starts even before they are one. And it starts from the environment. I can't take out that. It starts from the environment of who you are as a parent, the environment of your person, the environment you have built based on your relationship. And so it is easy for you to bring that child into that environment. It is easy for that child to come into that environment. And so you understand discipline from a different perspective. In short, there's a part of Hebrews that talks about God discipline us. You know, now, the first question is, why can God discipline us? He can discipline us because he has a relationship with us. He has a connection with us. There is a connection. There is a father and son connection. And so that's why he can discipline us. That's why he can correct us. And so that the later part of that scripture says that a father will discipline you and you will receive the correction. How much more the Lord? And God was the first person help us understand what discipline is. That discipline is not pankere. That discipline is not abara. Right? They are, yes, forms, rods, they are tools. That's the right word. They are tools that can be used, but they are not tools that speak to what discipline should be. So God, as a father, or as our father, established what discipline is with the first man, with Adam. He had a relationship with Adam. Scriptures to say it will come in the cool of the day to commune, to connect, to speak. Right? It's not like he will come. It was that the environment where man is, the environment of who man was, or was learning to become, or was learning to be at that time. He could hear God anytime, anywhere, see God, and that was connection. That was relationship. And so even when the fall happened, God showed discipline. And he showed discipline in how he administered covering over them. That's the first understanding. He administered covering over them by the things he said, by the things he spoke, and by the fact that in the fact that they fell, their falling was not anything, was not going to change any of God's plan and purpose for them. That's discipline. Discipline does not make something, or something happens, or a child does something and it just changed what you said. You were going to buy something for the child and you say, you know what, for this thing that you did, I'm not even going to buy it. You are teaching the child that is discipline. Meanwhile, that is a wrong way of discipline. So because the child did that thing, right, what you had promised the child before, since you don't use that particular thing to hold the child, that's a wrong culture. But that's the culture that most of us grew up in. Most of us were used to. Do you understand? And so imagine a parent beating a child every time. That means you are bringing the child to the state of nothing. There's nothing I do that is not wrong, Abby. What's the thing I will do that won't be wrong, so to say? Is there anything I will do that will not be wrong? Do you understand? Then you are instilling fear in the child. You're instilling fear in the child. So what I want us to take is to understand what discipline really is, and to know that it does not come from Cain. It cannot be taken from Cain. Like Mr. Osa said last, it's an art. It's an act. Right? Yes, it does not rule out the fact that you can spank a child when you see that something is wrong. But you must also communicate the message. That's why it's a relationship you have with the child. You must communicate the message of what was done wrong, so that the child will understand. As long as you keep communicating, you are instilling in the child a particular character of who they are. So it is you saying that because you are love, you cannot do this. You cannot do. Why can't you do this? Why? Because this is it. This is it. If you have a child that asks you why, is one blessed thing you have. You really have. Do you understand? Right? My daughter does that a lot. She will ask you the why of everything. The why of everything. Oh, I don't think you should put that thing here. Why? And you have to give her a reason. And she has to understand It's not like most times she understands fully, but she has to understand what you're saying. And sometimes she doesn't understand. She just say, okay, and maybe pick the thing up and put it back there neatly. Really. It's over time that she may begin to understand. It's over time that they will begin to understand. You're what? You're tired. Okay, I'm coming. Please, I'm in a meeting. Yeah, just give me a moment. Thank you. All right, sorry about that. So it still falls back to I'm trying to remember my thoughts. Okay, so it still falls back to you speaking, like saying, let the child understand the message, you know, that you're passing across. It's not enough to just use cane and beat a child. Even when you spank the child and you finish, you must give a hug. Do you understand? You are instilling confidence in that child. You are making, and it is beautiful to always say, I love you. This is what you did, and you shouldn't have done that. But you know that I love you. Yes, the child knows that you love them. And so they can even see that type of thing being done outside, and they'll tell someone that, don't do that again. No. That thing that you did is not good. Though. This is why they will even say why it is not good. Because they understand why it is not good. So it's not enough to say, oh, I'm going to beat this child. But what words are you saying? What action is showing forth when you are doing that? Right? In short, beating a child should, yes, you can beat a child, but it should be like one of the last resorts for you. Do you understand? It should be one of the last resorts for you. That's why I emphasize relationship. Because if you know how a child responds emotionally, you will know how to help that child respond better. You would know how to help the child respond better. You don't want to lose your child's friendship now. You don't want the child to grow up and cannot tell you little things. Little things. And that's how parents get to lose their children. You know, based on, our parents, it wasn't their fault. It was the way they were raised. And so some of us, we had some experiences that we were having. Right? We couldn't share with our parents. Why? Because of the way they understood discipline. Because of the way they thought discipline was. That you do something, you spank the child did not do well. You spank the child and say you must have first. You must have you must have this, you must have that. And that's not what we want to communicate. So the balance to it is firstly, our understanding of the Father's love. Our understanding of our identity. If you were raised in that environment, you are the only one that can unschool yourself from that. You are raised in the environment of any small thing, apara, any small thing, pa, any little thing, pa, any little thing, go and anything, you are already losing the child. You are losing the child. And if you are going to train a child in the way he should go, there is a way every child should go. Even if you have 2 children, there is a way every child should go. You are not supposed to raise them with the same, yes, it may be the same values, but with the same framework in mind, so to say. Permit me to use that word. With the same framework in mind. Or with the same blueprints in mind. But they grow in that environment. That's why I emphasized environment. I emphasized relationship. I emphasized connection. I emphasized identity. And if you as a parent have not brought yourself to that place of a connection, of love, of a relationship, of understanding who you are, it will be difficult to understand. Please, I'm coming. Thank you. It will be difficult. Okay, that's noted. So it will be difficult. Apologies for that. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I was saying that it will be difficult for you to be able to pass that same thing to the child, to your child. Children learn by what they see. that's one thing we must never rule out. They learn by what they see. And you must be able to establish firm boundaries. Firm boundaries is not negotiable. Is not negotiable. Right? It's not negotiable. If a child, for instance, if a child, does something, and let's say they said something they were not supposed to say, they said something wrong. And like now, most of our children, they mingle with other children in school. And then you hear your child saying, you are really mad. Hey. The first thing you as a parent will be like, some parents will say, you don't tell anybody they are mad. You don't tell anybody they have this one. You don't do this one. Why will you tell somebody that they're mad? Forgetting that you did not raise that child in that environment. You can't come from that place of saying that you don't tell anybody they are mad. Have you ever said to the child, or have you ever said to anyone that they are mad? So the first thing you as a parent should know is this thing was actually picked from outside. And so how you address it is now different. How that is being addressed is different. And so it's not for you to start speaking, saying, you don't tell anybody that. No. Tell them the right thing. You don't say that in this environment. We don't say somebody is mad in this environment. In this environment, nobody is mad. Everybody is in their right frame of mind. Everybody here has a mind. Everybody in this house, rather, has a mind, has the mind of Christ, has a mind that is pure, has the mind of love. So nobody in this house is mad. So the next time you hear somebody say somebody is mad, tell them that saying somebody is mad is wrong. And tell them that love does not speak that way. That is one way of correcting the child. There is a way love speaks. There is a way love is administered. And it's in the environment that the child has seen. And so if something is picked up, you immediately address it. Because the door to things happening with our children it starts with the heart. The heart. Anything that happens to a child, it starts with the heart of how it is received by the parent. But if you just shake it off and say, it was picked up, and that's all, then you are telling the child that it's okay to say such thing. Meanwhile, as the child becomes accustomed to the environment that you have created for them, it is easier for them to be confident. You don't want to send a child that is not confident because you have tampered with being too harsh. Now, too harsh is with your words, with how you speak, what you say, how you are so fast to release yourself, how you have not submitted yourself to the Lord to be flogged, that you are still beating a child anyhow. when you see these traits in you, don't hide it. Don't allow ego. It is ego that makes you think that what you did was right. It is ego. Because children are so beautiful at heart that you will see a lot and learn from them. And it still boils back to how you as the parents has connection with them. How you as the parents has relationship with them. And so what you permit as discipline is your own understanding of what discipline is. What you permit as discipline, right, becomes the culture of discipline in the home. Becomes the lifestyle of discipline in the home. Becomes what the child grows up to think discipline is. That's why you see parents beating their children, because they will tell you, my father beats me. He carry belts. This thing that you did, belts was on my head. But that's how they were raised. Right? Their father told them that discipline, the only way I will correct your head is with discipline. But both of them goes hand in hand. Both of them can go hand in hand, in the sense that you spank a child, but you also speak correction. There are things that you shouldn't permit. Like you see your child beating another child, from where to where? And you just use words. No, you spank the child and tell the child, you don't beat your brother. You don't beat your sister. You don't beat anybody. You don't touch anybody. Have you seen me beat anybody before? Have you seen me beat your daddy? Have you seen me beat your mommy? So you don't beat anybody. Right? You may have seen somebody beat somebody else. No, you don't do that. Why? Because you are different. Why? Because you as a parent has already been instilling in the child identity. And in identity is love. So you don't permit a child to beat and just allow it and just tell the other child sorry. No, that's not permissive. It's not. It shouldn't be allowed. So when you correct the child knows that I don't beat anybody. Because why? It's not because mommy said I don't beat anybody. No. Because this is my brother. This is my sister. I don't beat them. That's what you are. That's so if you are not in the environment where that child is at that time, I don't know. I'm sure there are parents that their children will come to the house, and the first thing, right? Relationship. Once I go to pick my daughter in school, mommy, I've not even said how are you. So what's up? I've not even said that. She's already, because I'm already used to. I don't just ask her how was your day, how was your studies. I'm already used to. Oh, what are you thinking about? I'm already used to that. So she's telling me what she's thinking about, or she's telling me what must have happened. And so there was a day she goes, David beats this person. I said, why did David beat this person? And so she tells me, why did David beat? And I said, so what happened when David beat this person? Where was your auntie when David was beating this person? And she said she doesn't know. I said, oh, so David finished beating this person and it ended there. Did the person beat her home back? She couldn't really tell, and all of that. And so I said to her that everyone in your class, yes, they are your classmates, but you must learn to walk in love with all of them. And so you don't beat them. And so she gets the memo. You don't beat them. And so the next time she'll be excited to tell me that, mommy, David beats when I told David that no. That because this is your classmate, you don't beat them. Why? They can do that because you were able to tell them the why of what they are doing. You were able to tell them the foundation of who they are. Remind them of the foundation of who they are. Right? And all these things stems from fellowship, from relationship, from connection, from reading together, reading a book together, from seeing how you react or how things are, done, how you do things rather. They are able to pick such things and all of that. So, rewiring ourselves, rebelling against the system is what we are called to do. We must rebel against the system that makes us think that the only way to, or discipline is only one way. And we must relearn to understand that discipline doesn't come from something that is done wrong, right? But it comes from a life that is lived. Discipline comes from a life that is lived. What is it? Huh? Where is it? Okay, I'm coming. I will help you take it later. Apologies for that. All right. So discipline comes from a life that is lived. I always thought that I was very patient. Oh God. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. I thought I was patient. In short, growing up in school, they always would tell me I'm very patient. Hey, Omo, I saw the other side of patience. I saw the other side of patience. That's why I told myself that I'm back there. You're not patient. You have to learn because I have an iPad child, always lively. So you tell me that every day I'll be patient. Always lively. And you don't want to kill that thing in the child. So I had to learn patience from God's word. I had to be sincere with the Lord. That Lord, sometimes I can't cope. Right? But the ability to now, you are open, you are plain, there's no ego. Yeah. You are coming from the place of one that needs to be helped. And God is so beautiful that it is with that child you will learn what true patience is. That is not by staying calm. It's not by staying calm. No. But it is by refusing some things. Yeah, it is by refusing some things. It is by staying or insisting on some things. Now, let me emphasize a bit on boundaries, right? Now, I call it firm boundaries. Because whether you're a parent or not, if you are in an environment with a child, you must, and some things, maybe there's some things that may not be necessarily something wrong. You can study if a child understands firm boundaries. And a child can understand firm boundaries. And it is by how you communicate with the child. That's how they understand firm boundaries. Now, firm boundaries is not being emotional in the sense of being emotional is not wrong, but not moving your stand. Right? Now, a child is playing with an unplugged iron. And the child carries the iron, eats it on the floor. Carries it again, eats it, and you tell the child that I don't want you to eat this iron because it can spoil the way you are eating it. So carry that iron and drop it here and the child is dragging their feet. Some parents will not want the child to drag their feet. Maybe the child, you can't wait. And so you carry it and go and drop it. You just taught the child something. What you are supposed to do is stand there and say, please carry the iron and put it there. Let the child drag her feet. Let the child drag the feet. You will carry the iron and you put it there. And you don't change your ground. Not that you are boning. Not that you are saying, please. No, not boning. And when the child does the high five, give the child a hug. Thank you. Right? Or you take a child to an eatery and you say, do you want this? And the child says no. You bring another one, do you want this? He said no. You bring another and say if they bring another and say no. The child says 10 no's. Like I said, relationship will help you know what the child wants or not. But what if the child is just being nasty or being, and just wants to, and the child sees that, you're saying no. You're bringing another one, you're saying no. And you're bringing another one, you're saying no. No. You tell the child that this is what we have available. And this is what you should eat. And everybody is eating it. And that's it though. And you stand by that. Like I said, relationship, don't go and give a child something that, will affect them. Do you understand? And if you as a parent feel like you shouldn't even get the thing for the child, don't even get it in the first place. Do you understand? But you are practically insisting. So the child is learning that, there's the part where, yes, mommy insists on this thing, right? And she's teaching me a character of, yes, I can be allowed to make a choice. I can be allowed to make a choice, but I don't have to, what's the word? There's a word I'm trying to look for. I don't have to take advantage of it. Do you understand? Because I have seen that, I've seen, yeah. And there are times that you give grace. In short, there are a lot of times that you give grace. Do you want this? Yes! And you give it to the child. Manipulative, that's the right word. Manipulation starts from the home. It starts from how the two parents discipline. So if you as a couple, you don't have an understanding of what discipline is to you and how both of you, I cannot be correcting a child and babe, you put your mouth down. No, don't do that now. Don't do that. No. So both of you will have this. These are things you talk about even before you even get married. How should we what's discipline to you, babe? This is how I was brought up. But I am unlearning. In short, I had to unlearn a lot of discipline, a lot of ways of discipline. Do you understand? I had to, first of all, understand what discipline is. That discipline is not cane. Because I was taught that discipline is cane. Do you understand? I had to, first of all, understand that it is the way a person lives. It is who you are. It is who you embody. And so, being able to understand when to use the tools for discipline is in different scenarios, right? It's in different scenarios. And so if, like I was using the example of a parent, right? Two parents, you guys must have talked about it. You should have talked about discipline. And so that's why you see some fathers, if a child is doing one, you see the father carry the child. Why? Because the child immediately knows that the moment daddy carries me, level has changed. I don't know if you've seen that with children. Immediately their dad carries them, level has changed. Because they know that, daddy, this one will not fly. That's why daddy carried me immediately. So you must have discussed what biblical discipline is, not African discipline. How does God discipline us as his children? Start from there. Who was the first person to experience discipline? in scriptures. How did God discipline them? Do we understand? It will help us further unlearn how to discipline, or what discipline rather is. You know, there are times that God will be correcting you and to look as if somebody carrying cane, is flogging you. And the cane is like they are flogging you left, center. And it's not that somebody is flogging, it's that the Lord is speaking to you and the thing is smashing every part of you. And that's the Lord. And he does it in love. And he does it because he has a relationship with us. And he does it because he knows us. And he does it because he has a connection with us. So connection precedes any form of you wanting to do anything to the child or anything. It precedes that. And so if you have that, that's the foundation of how you can connect. You don't lose a child. That's how you don't lose a child. That's how the child knows that I can come home. Regardless. Mommy knows with mommy and daddy. I'm good. I remember a story one pastor said that his mom would say to them that always say the truth, right? Even if the truth is something that is worth me beating you about. Always say the truth. Because the moment you lie, I will beat you. And so they realized that even the very things that they did wrong, their mom corrected them. But they would expect that every parent will beat them. Like there's no parent that will hear that I will not beat them. But because their mom did not know what they did and they came to tell their mom. And they know that with their mom, if you say the truth. And so the child grew up saying the truth. If you like, put a knife in his throat. You keep saying, as you are choking the knife, so you keep telling you the truth. Because that was what he understood. That was what they were taught. That was how they were taught. Right? And so that speaks to the environment that was created in the home. That speaks to the understanding of the mom about discipline. You know, it spoke to that. I saw a video of a mother. It's very funny. I saw a video of a mother. The mother collected the girl's tab. She collected her daughter's. The child was watching something, and she collected the girl's tab. I think I don't know whether she was 14 or maybe she was 12 or thereabout. And the girl was fidgeting. And she was crying. "Oh, you collect my tab!" Like, and the mom was telling her to calm down. Oh God. I was like, King back in no here. I should carry cane and beat your brain. You know, the child literally went to the balcony where it's stairs. I was going to think that she was going to, jump. And the mom was telling her to calm down. Hey God. And the mom was telling her to calm down. And what I saw there is, I don't know the full story. I may not understand it. I just saw that part of the video. But it all boils down to how they handled the child in terms of the tab. The boundaries that were set. What firm boundaries were set? Because things are growing, things are changing. And yes, we didn't use tab in our time. But schools are already saying children should use tab. But there are some boundaries you have to set in the house. There are some things you have to say, okay, this is the time you may need to listen. I'm just going to play a message so you can sleep. I think you should use, now is the time to build something, maybe build a house, or think of something to build and come and show me. All right? So where were those boundaries? Like I said, I don't have the full story, but that was what was happening. And the mother was saying, calm down. That's why I was like, what is that you're going to bring the child, because this one has gone off board. The child was fidgeting everywhere and went to the balcony. What if the next thought on the child was to jump? Because mommy collected my tab. And at that moment, I was feeling for the mother. In all honesty, I was feeling for the mother. But it boils down to the foundation of what was done, of how the parents, of foundation of identity, foundation of environment, foundation of boundaries, foundation of understanding of what discipline is. And saying, oh, she's a child. She's just learning. She's just understanding. She's just watching Akila and the Bee. She's just watching different cartoons and all that. And all that. So a firm boundary is not dismissible. Is expected, is permitted, is allowed, is expected, is not negotiable. It's not negotiable. I gave an example of having a friend. Because you guys have grown to love each other and know each other, there's something that your friend knows that, with this, I can't cross it. That's boundaries. So why don't we do it with children? That's why we should do it with children. That's how you teach a child not to be manipulative. That's how you teach a child not to be manipulative, because they come to learn those things in the environment that you create in the home. And you as a parent should have a time when you speak and you say your heart is the environment where your child comes in and finds ease in how they speak, in how they relate, in what they do, even when they are playing. Have you seen a child playing and exhibiting a high level of wisdom? Even in that play, it all speaks to how the parent, right? And trust me, if we don't rebel against African way of thinking discipline is, right, we would find ourselves in the same web, and we'll be caught up, and we'll end up losing a generation that we are supposed to steward. So we are all stewards. And so as a steward, now you can imagine something is given to you to tend, to keep, meaning you are not the owner. What are you? A steward. So how would you tend it? In short, the first thing I would say to myself is, I don't know how to tend this, but I believe wisdom will come on how to tend. You are being sincere with yourself, because what if that thing has not been given to you before? And if you are someone that likes to learn, you like to read, then you begin to learn how to steward. And so it's you creating an environment of, see, you don't need to have a child to be a steward. How are you even stewarding now that you don't have a child? What are you even stewarding now that you don't have a child? Because stewardship it's a mindset of discipline. To have a mindset of stewardship is discipline. To even be a steward is discipline. To even think like a steward is discipline. To know that you don't own the child. Because in Africa, That's the first thing. And so the child becomes your retirement. It is very wrong. It is not biblical. It's not godlike. Do you understand? God never, if we watch the trail of our fathers, he never has retirement plan as his children as his retirement. God, our own Father, the one that begot us into this beautiful life, does not have us as his retirement plan. So who are you to have your child? And that's the African mentality. And so we must rebel against that. That we are stewards, and that the resources and the wisdom to take care of these children is given to us in our relationship, in our work, in our teachability. We must be teachable to be able to discipline a child. So when you are going overboard, you see parents, they beat such that they beat every side of the child, every part of the body, head, toe, leg, face. Please, how are you? How are you a parent? That's why a child will grow and say, no, that's not my mother. But it's as they grow up, they come to learn the love of God. They now come to see the other side of, okay, why their parents, was beating them and all of that. So I'm just saying that cannot be the only means. I know. So you're a steward. And as a steward, the resources that comes to your hand, there is a way it should be multiplied. And so if it's supposed to be multiplied, your children cannot be your retirement plan. You're supposed to be giving them, even when they're having their children. You get the gist? You're supposed to be giving the grandchildren. You're supposed to be giving other people. Right? They're supposed to be the blessed. And I am not saying that they should not. In short, the way you raise them is how much they will give, is how much they'll pour themselves to you. Do you understand? The way you raise them is how they will learn how to give. Is in the way you raise them. Right? That's why I said discipline is a culture that starts within an environment that is built. Right? And I draw that from discipline being an act and an heart. An act first. An act. A culture of how you live. And so how you steward what you are currently stewarding when there's no child. You're already a steward. The self-control you exercise. The excellence by which you want something to be done. The grace you permit. And all of that. The values of love. The values of kindness. They are all fruits of the Spirit, but they can be your values rather. They can be what guides, they can be character traits, that you live by, and so it's easy for the child, to easily, learn these things. I know. So if you see the child as a steward, right? If you see that it is something given to you to tend, do you beat it mercilessly just because they say we should use cane? And the scriptures they will say is spoil the child. Spare the child. I don't know. There's one scripture. If I'm not saying it, says spoil the child, spare the rod, spoil the child. Yes, spare the rod, spoil the child. All right. So when do you use it? When do you not? There may even be a time that you want to even spank the child, and you know that within your heart it's like, no, what you just did was wrong. You shouldn't. If you now go ahead, apologize to the child and go and ask God for forgiveness at the end of the day, because you just did something wrong. And anything that is done in anger, you just release the seed. You release the seed. Anything that, whatever way of correction you are giving to a child is a seed which is planted in the child. So, if you have a seed, right, let's say you want to grow pawpaw at the back of your house. And so you have your land now, you have it, and so you plant the seed. What do? You water it, you do the different things. What is supposed to come out, Papa now? If pineapple come out, won't you be surprised? You'll be surprised. So the seed of the correction you are putting, whether it's done in anger, whether it's done in whatever form, it will show in what will come. Do you understand? It will show it's the show in the germination that you see. That whatever we germinate is the seed that was sown. So raising a child, it's a different ball game. It is practically you letting go of the understanding of discipline you grew up with and taking in a full understanding of what discipline is and moving from there. That's why I speak about rebelling against the system. There's already a system of how people discipline their children. And so you must rebel. We must rebel against that system. There is a way discipline, right, is learned, is an act. It can be learned. It is learned. You can unschool, you can unlearn, and you can relearn. You can learn again. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you are. But it starts from you. It starts from you acknowledging. It starts from you understanding. It starts from you being sincere. It starts from you being sincere with yourself. So it's not about balance, right? It's not about yes, balance, but you must understand that harshness or overcorrecting is if you are doing something, you are speaking harshly, you are speaking just anyhow. I remember something. I just remembered something that happened. I think it was last weekend. My daughter was just crying, and I was asking her that why was she crying, and she could not put a thing to why she was crying. And so I asked her what I was trying to bring up scenarios. Okay, this, that. I couldn't get why she was crying. And for me, crying is not the solution. Crying is not the way to solve things. And that's one thing. Children grow up crying. That's one thing we should understand. That when they are babies, the only way they can communicate is to cry. So as they grow, you have to unschool that thing in them. Do you understand? You don't start beating each other and say, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying?" And sometimes I get angry and I'm like, "Why are you crying? Please, why are you crying?" And all of that. But then I always remember that they started crying as babies, and you always answer them. When their diaper is wet, you change it. They cry, you change it. They are hungry, they cry, you do this. Do you understand? And all of that. And so, but she could not. Also, I was encouraging her, "Yeah, talk, speak up, let me hear." And all of that. And so, I wasn't getting what she was saying. And so I asked her a question. I said, I'm talking to you now. Am I talking to you? She said, yes. I said, am I crying? And she said, no. I said, so why are you crying? And she stopped. And I said, oh yeah, talk to me. What is wrong? And so that was how I was able to find out, and I was able to fix it. And so I do that a lot. I ask her, am I crying? Or if she's screaming, I say, am I screaming? She says, no. And so I'm asking her, am I screaming? And so she's thinking about the question. Mommy is not actually screaming. So why am I screaming? And so I'm like, the only way I can help you is to know what is wrong. So if you tell me, I can be able to, know what is wrong. My friend calls it gentle parenting. It's not all the time that is gentle. It's not all the time that is gentle, please. I know that. But at that moment, she was, see, a child cannot be crying and shouting and you are doing the same thing. What's the difference between both of you? No difference. You understand? There's no difference between both of you. Right? So you must take a stand as a parent. The child is, how can I, first of all, stop the child from crying? How can I make the child understand? And I keep repeating that crying never gets a solution. Now you can imagine with God, when you cry, it wasn't so. When we are baby Christians, we cry. I don't know about you, but it happened with me. My crying brought solution. I cried to God and he answered me. Oh God. When I got to times where I I was not crying and he did not answer me. Because it's like my friend grow up. So as a child is growing, you have to unscrew that thing in them. Not crying doesn't get its thing. And they see is that when they stopped crying, I was able to say what I wanted to say. So they are able to put words to how they feel. So you must communicate to say, how do you feel? Why are you crying? Why are you crying? I want to know. Oh yeah, tell me. If I not see that you still doing, I will ask you, am I crying? Am I crying? Am I screaming? No. Okay. So am I talking? Yes. Okay, talk to me. So tell me why you're crying. So this, like I said, there's no hard and fast rule to these things. Or I didn't say that, but I want to say that there's no hard and fast rule to discipline. It starts from the basic of understanding that discipline is not when something goes wrong, when something is done wrong. We must rule that out of our mindset. We must take that out. That discipline is not when something is wrong, when something is done from a wrong place. Right? It is lived. Right? And so when to administer a rod, when to administer words, right, comes from our ability to the way we exert patience, the way we exert joy, love in the very little things, right? That's how we see these things play out. The way you insist that you will love that brother, even when the person is say backbiting against you, and it starts from there. It starts from there, right? It starts from there. And it's also from the place of telling the child that no, you don't condone some things. Somebody does something that is out of line. You don't condone it. You don't condone them to do it. It starts from you. Do you condone it? And do you condone that thing? There is a place of yes, letting love, take its place. There's a place of not condoning some things. You don't condone it. So why will you say to your child that you should not condone it? Why are you condoning it in the first place? And all of that. I've exceeded the time by 5 minutes and I apologize. But I believe we were able to, learn a lot from all of what was said. And the fact that it all boils down to the environment you create within the home. It all boils down, and there's nothing wrong with the child being angry, right? Don't let the child think that it's wrong to be angry. No, there's nothing wrong with the child being angry. You have to teach them how the anger is supposed to be channeled. Do you understand? Being angry about, you can see something and be angry about it. The channel or the way it is being administered, it is on a different ballgame entirely. That's what you address. Right? That's what you address. So if the different emotions that the child is displaying, it is the root cause of it, not really that thing, the root cause of it that you right? And make them see the best in it and all that. So everything boils down with connection. Everything boils down with relationship. Everything boils down with knowing the child. And don't say, see your brother is calm, you to be calm. Why? It's for what? You're supposed to train the child in the way they should go. They are going in different ways, right? There's a way both of them should go. And so it's not necessarily in the same way you may understand it. and all of that. So thank you. I'll leave the floor to Mr. Yemi to take it up from there. Thank you everyone for that and for listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Esther. That was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful session. Please, let's appreciate her with a round of applause. Let's use our emoji. Yeah, thank you. And I mean, we apologize that the meeting tonight has stretched a bit. But do we have any question? Do we have any question? Maybe practical scenarios that you are handling, practical situations that you would like to, or maybe you've seen and you've wondered that what will I do in this scenario? How would I have handled this in this if I was in such a scenario? Do you have anything like that? Or you just have something you'd like to clarify from tonight's session? Do we have anyone like that?
Yes, sorry. I have a question or clarification. So in situation where child is coming from a bad modeling, right? Let's say this particular child is in a different environment where he or she has been schooled on these negative patterns, right? Like she rightly said, all of these things were instilled from the environment of which this child was brought in. So it has become the primary way of functioning to that particular child for a very long time, right? And from my observation, it's quite hard to unlearn such behaviors, right? More especially that first environment or first environment in which the child grew. And then you were now opportune to be with this particular child, of which you now need to retrain and reteach the child. Is it the same principle applied? I don't even understand what I'm trying to communicate, right? Do you still have to go through the same processes of teaching as if you are starting from the very onset? Meanwhile, the child already have the plenty backload and negativity that he or she has been carrying before you get to encounter them, right? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
Oh yes,
thanks.
I really understand that. I
Thank you.
totally understand and all that. So that child can only learn by how you start expressing love, because that child doesn't understand love in such in a scenario, right? What the child has come to understand as love, it's a different thing. And so you can't start from the place of, oh, you wanted to school the child, you wanted to tell the child this is how you do things and all of that. You are going to have to start from the place of love, right? In how you embrace the child, in how you see the child, right? In how you what's the word? Connect with the child. So you have to connect with the child. You have to be more interested in don't really be interested in changing that child's behavior because of where the child is coming from. Don't let that be your goal, so to say. Do you understand? Yes, it may be your goal, right? But the child is already battered. So how can you put something else? Do you understand? In that system. So it starts from how you begin to relate with the child, right? Everything you don't what's the word? Don't see the child do something that you know that it's really wrong, and the way you now express it will now remind the child, sort of, right? Because you are trying to um um corrects the child, so to say. All right. You must start from understanding that this child is in this way, and the best way to be able to address this thing, right, comes from how I carry this child, how I think about this child, is how I see this child, is how I communicate with this child, right? It's how I foster connection with this child. Meaning that if the way you may be relating with the child, maybe in the child's former house, once you do something wrong, you don't eat, they don't give you food, right? And you see the child do something that you feel like is wrong, and maybe at that moment you feel like you should not talk. Maybe it's the first time you feel like, oh, not maybe you should not talk about it, and so you go ahead to still cook food, and the child is eating food. That you are telling the child another story, that there's a way something is done and it's different from where I have come from. Where I've come from, when you do something, you don't eat, they don't give you food, they don't give you night food, they don't give you afternoon food, right? So you can't come from that place of oh yes, I want to discipline the child, I want to yes, I want to show the child another way. No, it starts from connection, it starts from loving the child, it starts from understanding the child, right? It starts from knowing when to look away, right, and when not to talk, knowing when to keep quiet and when not to. It's a different ball game entirely, but it still doesn't rule out the principles that apply, right? It still doesn't rule out the principles that apply. It still doesn't rule out, over time the child should learn boundaries. It still doesn't rule out all of that. It's just that the approach will be different, right? The approach would be from the place of love. The approach will be from the place of the fact that you have to tell the child that they did this because they don't have knowledge. Maybe they don't understand. Maybe that's what that's how they were trained. Maybe that's how they were raised. Do you understand? And all that. But you are loved. You are loved. You are always loved. And the approval of you is not based on people. It's not based on things. Because such a child will need approval from other people to know that they are doing well. So you have to, you would now be coming from a different place entirely. All right? Coming from, you are bringing in a different approach, entirely. To say, because the psychology of the child is different. So you can't, the principles don't change, like I said, but the psychology of that child is what you need to change, right? The psychology of how the child now sees things. Yeah. So it starts from the place of love. It starts from the place of relationship. See, you don't know how soft a person can be until you get into them. You get into them. You really are interested in getting into them. So you should be interested in the child than the other things that you want to do, really. And all that. You should overwhelm the child than the other things that you want to do, and all that. So it is in that connection, it is in that relationship, you now begin to see things, right? You begin to, this is what this child likes. You realize that you gave the child this particular food and the child likes it. Okay, let me just get something for this child and all that. You are showing the child, maybe in their house, they don't buy anything when you're coming back. You don't buy, nobody sends you. Do you understand? Now you are being thoughtful. Love is thoughtful. God is thoughtful. So that's that's wisdom playing out. Do you understand? So it's the same principle, but the approach, all right, cannot be one way. That's the word. The approach cannot be one way, and all. So it's not like there's a hard and fast rule, right? It's how you are able to embody that child, right? It's how you are able to connect and how you're able to pick things and how you're able to respond differently than the environments where the child is coming from. Yeah. So I believe that answer. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, I did. so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other question? Any other question? Over to you, please.
All right. Thanks so much for that response. And just to add, as you were responding, I've seen the emphasis on connection, relationships since you started. Then it's occurred to me that one of the things that connection will have to foster is what we can call safety. The child will feel safe. The child will feel relaxed, comfortable. And there's this scripture in the book of First John that said, "There is no fear in love. Perfect love cast out all fear." So if a child can, feel like this is a safe space, this if she be his mommy, she be his daddy, I mean, there's no need to fear. Even though mommy will rebuke me, even though mommy will say this is not supposed to be like that, mommy still loves me, daddy still loves me. I don't think there's anything greater than that. I mean, looking at how we relate with God, so we know that we can always run to the Father. So I just wanted to add that creating an environment that speaks you are safe, you are loved is very important. And it's amazing how we've moved to, try to strike a balance out there to find out that what matters is where we are starting from. That's connectedness, that connection, that's where everything else springs from. So there are no hard or fast rules to the process of all the arts of discipline. So once again, thank you so much. Please, I'd like for us to give ourselves a round of applause for everyone that has stayed until this time. And if you are listening, so when the recording is uploaded, thank you so much for listening until this moment. I mean, there is no we can't do this without you. And as we say, our commitment is to ensure that we do better, we become better, and we do better. We will better. So for those of us, we have a community on WhatsApp. Just for those of us that may not be on the community, I will share the link on the chat, even as we bring the meeting to a close. We meet again next month, the third Saturday of the month. That's the month of August, and that will be the 22nd of August. So we meet again. We make the announcement, and over the course of the month, we find engaging content in the community, within the community. Let's enjoy the rest of our nights, and until the next time we meet, let's keep becoming better. Bye, everyone.